Hi. Ever wondered what it would be like to see the stars from a really dark site in the southern hemisphere? Stay tuned and you'll find out. For many years, I've wanted access to a telescope at a dark site in the southern hemisphere. There are so many legendary targets that are simply invisible for North America and Europe, like Alpha Centauri, Eta Carina, the Southern Cross, the Jewel Box, the Pencil Nebula, the Magellanic Clouds, and so much more. I've been fortunate enough to have traveled to Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, Argentina, even Antarctica, but the best optical aid I ever had was a pair of binoculars, and I was never really truly at a dark site. There were always some white lights nearby, whether it was on a ship or at a hotel. So I set about researching where I could go that offered mounted and aligned telescopes I could rent for a few days of observing and photography. The list quickly resolved to Australia, Chile, and Namibia. I wanted to go during a new moon and picked June because it would have the most hours of darkness in the southern hemisphere. I was unable to find a suitable location in Chile or Argentina that offered a variety of observing tools, was set up specifically for visiting astronomers where I could control the telescopes myself, and was exceedingly dark. I found three potential sites in Namibia. These are located in the fringes of the Kalahari Desert and offer dry, cloudless nights. All were equally dark, about 90 minutes south of the Windhoek Airport. The preferred site, called Tivoli, had the most equipment and was the most popular. However, they refused my 4-night reservation request, requiring a full 7-night commitment, which I was unwilling to do on this first expedition. The next best location was called Kiripatib, and that's where I went. A friend and I reserved the best 4 June nights for 2024 2 years in advance. An advantage to observing in June in Namibia is the cold nights mean the 25 species of venomous snakes are all hibernating and not a concern. The camp is about 90 minutes south of the capital of Windhoek, and they picked us up at the airport. The weather was cool, temperatures in the 40s at night. The Astrofarm itself was a relatively good value. On the plus side, the staff was friendly, the food was generally good, often local game like springbok or kudu, or from the farm itself like chicken. The rooms were clean, spacious, and private. Beds were comfortable, and best of all, it was really dark. One negative was while the rooms were air conditioned, they were not heated. That meant after a cold night of observing, you came back to a cold room. The best we could do was pile on blankets and hug a hot water bottle. Aside from astronomy, they offered game drives and made colorful rugs using their own sheep. Lions, leopards, and cheetah had long been killed or driven away by local ranchers, but there were plenty of giraffe, zebra, kudu, springbok, wildebeest, warthogs, dik-dik, oryx, baboons, and other wild animals to see in the area. We rented an observatory that had a Meade 10-inch ACF F10 SCT on a Fornax 55 mount. It was already aligned, but unfortunately not really well collimated, and the collimation tool we did not have. To that, we added a ZWO 2600 MC Pro Duo and a Starizona Apex L 0.65X focal reducer. We controlled everything with an ASI Air. The second scope was an APM 107 f7 apochromat refractor, which had a Riccardi 0.7X focal reducer. We used another of the same cameras. We also had an HA-modified Sony a7 III DSLR with both 14 and 150mm lenses, but not a tracking mount that worked well. Finally, we rented a 24-inch Dob with eyepieces so we could wander the southern skies while our other telescopes were busy. We looked at the positions of the targets we were interested in and assessed whether they were best seen after dark, in the middle of the night, or pre-dawn. Then we made a matrix that allowed us to plan to be shooting at least 2, often 3 targets simultaneously. After nightfall, the sky was the best I've ever seen, and I've been to observatories on Haleakala, on Maui, in the Canary Islands, all over Arizona, even in a hut on Bora Bora. The Milky Way was bright. The large and small Magellanic Clouds were clearly visible. Omega Centauri, the Running Chicken Nebula, the Coalsack, and Eta Carina were all obvious naked-eye targets. Stars were visible to the horizon almost everywhere except the north-northeast, where there was a very faint light dome from Windhoek. We had a bit of a learning curve interfacing with the old-school Fornax mount to our ASI airs, but navigated through that and soon were imaging. We spent a lot of time in advance being absolutely sure we knew how to interface with their equipment. One of the problems we encountered was both telescopes had manual focusers, and there was focus drift over time, especially with the Meade. We lost a lot of subs to fuzzy images due to focus drift after the first hour. Eventually we attempted to check more frequently, but some of our precious time was lost by then. After 4 long nights of imaging, we ended up capturing over 20 targets. I'll close with a montage of some of the best ones. Please take a moment and click the subscribe button. It really helps with the algorithm and allows me to keep doing what I do. Thanks.